A Kevin Costner revelation in Yellowstone shows a big difference between Alex and Spencer in 1923. Kevin Costner's John Dutton made a revelation in Yellowstone that shows a pivotal difference between Alex, Julia Schlapfer, and Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklenar, after 1923's finale. In the last episode of Taylor Sheridan's Prohibition-era Dutton saga, the family's war against Banner Creighton, Jerome Flynn, and Donald Whitfield, Timothy Dalton, climaxed. Spencer arrived just in time to help Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford, fight Whitfield's men at the train station in Livingston, then left his wife and uncle to travel to Bozeman. Spencer subsequently joined Cara Dutton, Helen Mirren, fighting off the rest of the opposing army at the Yellowstone Ranch. Elizabeth Strafford's Michelle Randolph husband didn't live to fight the family's war, with Jack Dutton, Darren Mann, dying in 1923's penultimate episode before he could draw his gun on Clyde, Brian Canowell. 1923 season 2's ending was certainly marked with highs and lows. Still, Spencer Dutton's ending in 1923 instilled the hope the family needed to endure another generation of strife when he assumed control of the Yellowstone Ranch. In 1923's closing scene, Elsa Dutton, Isabel May, describes how her brother lived for 45 more years, surprising many that Spencer endured decades longer than most Dutton family tree members. Sadly, by the time Spencer returned to Alexandra of Sussex, she was dying in a hospital bed in Bozeman, her body succumbing to the life-threatening injuries she endured while freezing in Paul's Augustus Prue, and Hillary's Janet Montgomery Carr. When Alex gave birth to their baby, John, in the finale, Spencer's wife opted not to amputate her legs and part of her arm, which would have saved her life. Alex initially refuses amputation so that she can deliver and nurse John Dutton. However, Alex continues to refuse life-saving treatment even after delivering John Dutton, to her detriment. Her death completed the list of horrible things that happened to Alex Dutton in 1923, but her tragic fate could have been avoided. After Alex had braved many obstacles along her journey to reunite with Spencer, it was heartbreaking, if not a bit unbelievable, that the determined mother opted not to save her own life. While it was partly a sacrifice for her son, buying the mother and son time, one has to think that someone could have tended to Alex's baby while she underwent surgery, which would have given Alex the rest of her life to care for her newborn. Spencer avoids the same fate as Alex, according to Yellowstone. In Yellowstone Season 4, Episode 2, Phantom Pain, Kevin Costner's John Dutton reveals an ominous fact about his grandfather. Jimmy Jefferson White has endured life-threatening injuries riding bulls in the rodeo, and he injures himself again when he tries to get back on a horse. Jimmy is baffled that he can't feel his fingers, and yet they hurt. John relates, saying his grandfather lost a leg, and the worst pain his ancestor ever felt was in his toes after his limb was gone. It was unclear whether John Dutton II's father, John Dutton IE's grandfather, was Jack or Spencer Dutton, but 1923 Season 2 seemed to answer the question. Alexandra named her baby John, after Spencer's brother, leading many to presume the baby is John Dutton II. If he is, then John Dutton IE's clue is about Spencer. Therefore, if he lost a leg, we can deduce that Spencer opted into the life-saving procedure that his wife refused. While he likely lost his leg for different reasons, Spencer had to choose whether to amputate his limb, and we know he chose survival. If it's true that Spencer Dutton was John Dutton IE's grandfather, and he therefore lost his legs sometime before he died in 1969, then Alex's fate may have impacted Spencer's decision later in life. Seeing his wife's early death, opting not to have her limbs removed, could have inspired Spencer to make a different call. while Cara Dutton was around to keep the family together at the end of 1923. It's unknown how many years Spencer's aunt survived after the family's war. Spencer likely witnessed his family suffer without a matriarch through the years, worsening Alex's death years later. John Dutton's foreshadowing led many to believe that Spencer would lose his limb in World War II. While John doesn't mention that his ancestor lost his leg in battle explicitly, Taylor Sheridan's next Yellowstone prequel, 1944, will pick up amid the conflict. Spencer, at age 55, isn't the prime age to fight, but his joining the conflict isn't out of the question, especially for a seasoned war hero. Therefore, it is possible that Spencer never chose the procedure, having his wounded leg amputated while he was unconscious. Regardless, Spencer Dutton avoids his wife's tragic 1923 fate. In the wide expanse of the Dutton legacy, where generations are defined by grit, trauma, and the weight of land, a revelation from Kevin Costner's Yellowstone John Dutton gives an unexpectedly deep insight into the character differences between Alex and Spencer Dutton from 1923. Though separated by time, war, and experience, Spencer and Alex's dynamic reveals a divergence in emotional DNA that speaks volumes about the ever-shifting moral compass of the Dutton family. In Season 4 of Yellowstone, Kevin Costner's John Dutton quietly reflects on his late wife, Evelyn. He says, "She was the balance. Without her, I'm just rage." It's a rare and vulnerable moment from a man forged in stoicism and silence. But that single sentence echoes through the decades and lands right in the heart of 1923, illuminating the defining difference between Spencer Dutton and his fiery, devoted partner, Alex. Spencer, much like John, is haunted. A war veteran torn apart by what he saw in the trenches and jungles, Spencer is a man who has learned to silence his heart in order to survive. He stalks death, not because he wants to die, but because it's the only time he feels anything anymore. He's a living ghost, a man who doesn't flinch when facing a lion, but trembles at the idea of a future. And then comes Alexandra. Alex, with her golden hair and unbreakable spirit, charges into Spencer's world like a storm. She's emotional, impulsive, romantic, and driven by love above all else. Where Spencer operates in silence, Alex speaks with passion. Where Spencer walks alone, Alex demands to walk beside. Her declaration to abandon English nobility in exchange for a life of uncertain peril beside Spencer in Africa isn't just romantic. It's emblematic of how Dutton women, at least the ones like Alex and Evelyn, choose courage wrapped in chaos. Kevin Costner's revelation about Evelyn, how she was the soft to his hard, the hard to his hands, highlights a major contrast. Evelyn was a grounding force for John, a moral compass, and an emotional anchor. But she, like Alex, wasn't weak. She was strong in a way that required being both fiercely maternal and unapologetically loyal. Alex, in her way, mirrors that dynamic. She's not Spencer's equal in combat or tracking predators, but she's his equal in emotional endurance. Her love is relentless, undeterred by oceans, societal class, or the lingering specter of war. This brings us to the core difference Kevin Costner's insight reveals: emotional agency. Spencer is a product of a brutal age. His love is reactive. It builds slowly, almost painfully, as if it hurts to feel. Alex, on the other hand, is proactive in love. She runs headfirst into it. Her love is bold, dangerous even, because it makes demands, on herself, on Spencer, and on fate. In many ways, she is the one rewriting the Dutton playbook. She is not the woman who waits on a man's word. She is the word. There's a poignant moment in 1923 when Spencer admits, "I don't know how to be in love. I know how to protect, to survive, but not this." Alex, eyes unflinching, simply replies, "Then I'll teach you." That's it. No grand speech. No bargaining. Just conviction. That right there is the chasm between Spencer and Alex. He survives love. She creates it. He's lost in memory and instinct. She is memory in the making. John Dutton's regretful musings also point toward a tragic undercurrent. What happens when the Dutton men lose their Alexandras and Evelyns? When the emotional compass is ripped away, what's left is a man adrift in duty, in anger, in stoic performance. John, without Evelyn, becomes a father who can't quite reach his children, a man whose love is expressed only through land and legacy. It's no stretch to imagine Spencer, should he ever lose Alex, spiraling into a similar fate. Perhaps even worse. Because unlike John, Spencer has seen too much of death to believe in redemption. And yet Spencer is a bridge. He is the first Dutton man we see who chooses love over war. He is the one who walks away from death's constant company to build something real. That choice, the conscious choice to be whole, is what makes Alex and Spencer's relationship different. She doesn't complete him. She challenges him to be complete on his own. And that's the revolution in the Dutton lineage. In contrast, John Dutton is a man resigned to his scars. He wears them like armor. Spencer, with Alexa's help, tries to shed his. It's not easy. He fails. He falters. He pushes her away. But he keeps trying. And in that trying, the Dutton family shows a new path. One not paved by blood and bullets alone, but by the fierce and fragile pursuit of healing. So when Kevin Costner's John Dutton speaks softly about Evelyn, he unknowingly sheds light on the emotional architecture of Spencer and Alex. It's not just about who they love. It's about how they love and what they're willing to become for that love.